Welcome. We have been talking about and thinking about a whole range of things, student-centered learning and Bloom's taxonomy, and the learning is a cyclic process, and so on and so forth. And shared with you a number of ideas of formative assessments, classroom assessment techniques, concept map, so on and so forth. Now, you might be sitting there thinking to yourself, well, you know, Walt, I already have a full semester of content to teach my students. I have way too much important information and knowledge to cover in class. Where am I going to find the time to do all these active learning, formative assessment activities and things? I'm just too busy. I've just got too much to do. Here's a way to start. It's called the big idea. It's a way to start. First thing you do is you ask, what are the big or essential ideas in your field, especially as they pertain to your module, the topic of your module? What's the big ideas? This is how you think about this. Once you've identified that big idea, and I'll give you some hints about how to do that in a moment, then you take all your content that you would normally teach and say, well, what are the real key things that relate to that big idea that result in enduring understanding of my students with respect to that big idea? The things that they really walk away with and they understand that big idea, whatever that is. Identify things in terms of your content that are important to know and do, and importantly, identify those parts that are only worth being familiar with. This can be hard to do the first time you do it. Make no mistake, this can be challenging to do. So big ideas, and then what of your content relates directly to that, resulting in an enduring, lasting understanding. What's important to know or do with respect to the big idea and enduring understanding, and then all the other stuff. We all do this. We all do this. We all put in extra things into our modules. Here's an example. This example is from somebody at the University of Illinois who is teaching a microbiology immunology type course, and they, after several iterations, understand. They didn't just walk right in and do it. They went through several thought processes to get to this point. The big idea for that course, that module, ended up being, how does microbiology and immunology impact human health? Enduring understanding, these are just some of the things. How do microbes impact human health positively or negatively? How can we determine if a disease is caused by microbes or the immune system? Those are the enduring understanding things, the things that really are extremely important that they know and understand in order to get the big idea of that. That's the big idea. Important to know or do, properties of microbes and components of the immune system, symptoms or conditions associated with pathogenic microbes or dysfunctional immune systems. Those are important to know. They're supporting to these things. And then, only worth being familiar with, factors that increase likelihood of disease, vaccination principles and timelines, and current outbreaks. So that professor said these are only worth knowing. So how do you make change? How do you make time? You eliminate these. You just wipe them out, delete them. So you're left with the really important stuff to be teaching. That's where you get your time. So you identify the big idea, establish the parts of your content that are related to the enduring understanding, the parts that are important to know and do, and everything else goes. And that can be very difficult. Really challenging to you to give up that little, oh, I always talk about this. Well, it really belongs up here, it doesn't belong here, so I'm just not going to talk about it anymore. That's where you gain your time and you spend more time hammering on the things that are important for them to know. In your PDF packet, you have some worksheets or some forms that can help you think about this. Again, it's not necessarily easy for all of us. The big idea, so up in the top here, you would put your module name. Nutrition, for example, I'll give you one example. And then think about, in your field, related to what you're going to be teaching, what are the big concepts, themes, theories, processes, etc. So this is where this comes in. This is from the McTee and Wiggins backward design. So that understanding by design, backward design, this is where this stuff comes from, the big idea and these handouts. So big idea, topics, and again, you can kind of read through some of these theories: natural selection, the Big Bang Theory. What do we have over here? Processes, problem solving, scientific investigation, issues, debates, nurture versus nature, etc. So those are broad-based ideas for your field, whatever your field might be, not necessarily these, but that gives you the idea how to think about this. The next one, though, gives you a more specific idea. Nutrition. So you have a nutrition course to teach. And again, you're not teaching all of these, but you think, well, what's my content and how does it relate to the big idea? Is the big idea of my course, my module, a balanced diet? Is it about various diets that promote weight loss? Is it about the lure of fast foods? You know, what's that central theme or problem or challenge, etc.? So you use that grid. Let me back up for you just a moment. Use this, put your module title in the top frame there, and then think about what these, you may only fill out 2 or 3 or 4 of these with ideas of how your module is going to address that. And that's how that helps you formulate that big idea. So take advantage of these. I want to quickly share with you one of what I call Walt's philosophical teaching epiphanies, all right? And I figured this out a long time ago, and it relates directly to what I was just talking about. So you can take it for better or for worse. It's entirely up to you to believe it or not. And just simply less is more. Less content can result in more learning. So I'm a scientist, I deal in math and things like that, so I think in those quantitative terms. If I teach 100 things in my module, and the students actually learn 10 of those things. Now, when I say learn, I'm talking about not learning for the exam. They memorize something, have the exam, and then walk away and it's gone. No, they actually learned those things. It's with them. It's part of that enduring understanding. And that ratio, frankly, in my experience, is not that far off. That's probably what we're talking about for most of us. On the other hand, if I teach 50 of those things, instead of 100 of them, I choose 50 of them, half of them, and they actually learn 20 enduring learning, enduring understanding, I've doubled the number of things they've learned, 20 versus 10, and I've quadrupled my efficiency of teaching. And that makes me feel good. They actually know 20 things, not just 10. I've quadrupled my efficiency of teaching. This is a very simplistic way of another way of thinking about what I was just talking about with regard to the big idea. And again, it's very, very challenging to decide what do I get rid of, because we try to pack our courses full of knowledge and then focus only on these. Now, I have an assignment for you, and that is you can use some of the handouts in your PDF packet. Identify a big idea or ideas. Maybe you have a couple. I wouldn't go to 3 or 4 or 5, certainly, 1 or 2, for your module, and use the handout as a start for helping you do that, as I just showed you those forms a moment ago. And then what I would do, once you've identified that big idea, which is not that easy to do again, is to make a list of topics that you might include in your current, module, that you already do, and then segregate them into different lists. Those directly related to the big idea, those enduring understanding components, those are important to know, and those are only worth being familiar with. And then if you eliminate these, how much time have you actually gained in the semester? And then how are you going to use that time? How are you going to then start integrating those classroom assessment techniques, those formative assessments, to help your students do better at learning these right here? That's a procedure that you can use to find that time. Again, start with a big idea, segregate what you already have into these 3 pots, and then just the ones that are only worth knowing, do away with them. Good luck.